This is the first talk in a 5-part series. This talk is about empowering design. Our screens are asking too much of us. Each of us wakes up and we try to make the best of our day, trying to make the best of our one life. And then we check our email, or our notifications, or we check Facebook. Isn't our technology supposed to feel like it's on our team? Why does it feel like our technology is just trying to keep us busy? In this talk, we'll answer that question. We'll start by looking at the situation. We'll discover problems with the way screens are designed and the way startups are motivated. Next, at the drafting table, we'll learn to design screens that help us seize the day. Finally, we'll turn the talk into a town hall, and we'll see what 1,000 designers could do to improve the situation for all users. So what's going on here? It's not a new question. This guy from the internet asked the same thing, and that was back in 2010. Since then, it's gotten a lot worse. We spend more time on our phones and more time staring at screens of all sizes. To understand why, I think we need to go into two stories. First, the story of startups and how they measure the time they take from us as their success. Next, the story of screens and how such a simple thing as a news feed or a notification screen can lead us away from the lives we want to be living. First, startups. There are a lot of them, and they constantly experiment with new notifications, new design elements, and new features. When they roll out a feature, they test it. They measure success by how much of your time you spend on their app or in their site. And unless people spend more time, they roll that feature back. So the features that end up out there are the ones that are most successful at hooking us. Startups are competing to use more and more of your time. It's like neighbors competing to outdo one another, except instead of collecting the biggest lawnmower or the most cars, these neighbors are competing to amass the biggest stack of eyeballs. Gross. Okay, next let's look at the story of screens. Most of us feel like we're in control of our technology. So how can something so tiny that fits in our pocket end up leading us to do something different than what we want to be doing? To address this, think about the Matrix. Think about Morpheus. When Morpheus asks Neo, do you want to take the red pill or the blue pill? Neo thinks about whether he wants the red pill or the blue pill. Neo does not think that maybe he wants to go running or later have a lobster dinner, but only if he can afford it and if his girlfriend can come along. No, Neo chooses from the options given. We humans are agreeable creatures. We usually choose from the menu that's handed to us. And that means that designers have this incredible power, the power of Morpheus, in our phones. A limited menu faces us. This menu has just the kinds of activities and just the kinds of relationships that are good for keeping us hooked. And it starts the moment we wake up. 1 billion of us are spending serious time with our phones in the morning, and almost all of us have something else we'd rather be doing. Something else that helps us live better or feel better in the morning. Some of us are lying in bed with our boyfriend or our girlfriend right next to us. If we think about it, we'd say we'd like to have sex, we'd like to stretch, we'd like to do some yoga, maybe take a walk around the block, or have a leisurely breakfast. But instead, we're swiping, reading notifications, watching cat videos, doing something different than what we really want. As designers, I think we can fix this problem. We'll go over to the drafting table and we'll try redesigning screens so that they let us do what we really want to do with our lives. We'll redesign 2 screens, the lock screen and Chrome. Both of these screens take up so much of people's time. And we'll use this idea about Morpheus. We're going to take the red pill and the blue pill off the menu, and we'll add on the running and the lobster and the girlfriend. I'm starting to like this guy. So I've made a worksheet. It's available as a PDF. The worksheet helps us see the pills, the red pill and the blue pill, what the screen is making room for. And it helps us see the lobster, which is what the user really wants to do. So we can remove the pills from the screen and add the lobsters. We'll try it on the lock screen first, and later you can try it on whatever screen wastes your time. To fill out this worksheet, you'll need to have a user in mind. We'll use this woman, Lisa. And you'll need to understand how they want to live, not some far-off dream like climbing Mount Everest or being a professional DJ, but just what their best, most realistic morning looks like. If we ask Lisa, she can describe her ideal morning. She gets up, gets some fresh air, does some yoga, and journals about her day in an open-minded, big-picture way. She'll also tell us that she's not spending her mornings the way she wants. Like those other billion people, she's spending her mornings with her phone. What a shame.
Let's see if we can identify the red pills and blue pills that keep her on her phone in the morning. First, we'll list the activities which the lock screen is offering to Lisa. For instance, it has these notifications on it with timestamps. So the screen is suggesting to Lisa that she catch up on everything she's missed. Each notification has a deep link into an app, a suggestion that she jump quickly into her apps. This notification says that people are talking and commenting without her, a suggestion that she concern herself with online discussions going on without her. Finally, she's informed of new content. Why not consume it now? But we're just getting started. The most powerful red pills and blue pills aren't activities. They're relationships and thinking styles. For instance, endorsements. When someone likes a piece of content you provided, or when they friend you, that's a very online-mediated kind of relationship. By highlighting these endorsements for her, the screen suggests that Lisa's friends are not for doing things with, but for sending vague online messages of approval. Similarly, when Meetup tells Lisa about this discussion that's going on without her, it's suggesting that what she should do with these people is discuss online. We'll call that a chat relationship. Finally, Lisa has a relationship with her apps. This app is nagging her. It's micromanaging her. So the lock screen is putting Lisa in endorsement relationships, in chat relationships, and in nagging relationships. The last thing to notice is the whole structure of the screen makes Lisa feel she's got a lot going on. It puts her in execution mode. She feels busy, important, maybe even overwhelmed. These are the thinking styles suggested by the screen.
None of these things are what's important for Lisa in her ideal morning. None of these activities are the activities Lisa wants to do in the morning. None of these relationships are the relationships that Lisa thinks are important to have in her morning. And this thinking style is not the thinking style that she wants to be thinking in the morning. The activities that are important to Lisa in the morning are getting out of bed and making time for what she wants to do. So let's start a new lock screen just for Lisa. To help her get out of bed, we'll have a bell she can ring. The bell declares she's going to get out of bed. It might have some social function, or it might just make a sound. And in gray text below that, we'll have the time until her first meeting at work, so she has explicit information about how much time she has. We can ask Lisa what kind of relationships are most important for her ideal morning. It's not nagging, and it's not endorsement. What she'd ask for is companions, people to join her for yoga or for writing in her journal. These are the relationships that are important for Lisa to be in the morning. So we'll add invitations to her screen. Anne is up for yoga over Skype. Jim will journal with her on Google Docs. As soon as Lisa wakes up, she knows she has companions in her ideal routine. Finally, the thinking style Lisa wants to have is one of open-minded, big thinking about her day. So we'll add a widget at the bottom with tabs on it where she can click if she wants an adventurous day or she wants a quiet day. And the widget will show her just the notifications, just the apps, or just the friends that can help her have the kind of day that she wants. So that's the redesign. I hope you'll agree with me that this screen is more compatible with Lisa's ideal life. So we're going to try the same process with Chrome. Instead of Lisa's ideal morning, we'll look at my ideal browsing schedule. So I do creative work, and I like to start my day with 2 or even 3 hours of uninterrupted focus. So Chrome does not make this particularly easy. Let's go through the activities that Chrome makes easy and compare them to the activities that are part of my ideal working day. So the first thing to notice about Chrome is that it makes it super easy to get back to the frequent sites you go to. The autocomplete bar makes it so that you can type a single character and get to Facebook. And if that doesn't help you, the common tabs in the middle will get you there with one click. The next thing to notice is that tabs make it super easy to change contexts. You can change tabs faster than you can blink. So whatever you're working on, it's super easy to switch contexts and forget all about it in a moment. Next thing to notice is that the fact that search is always on the screen and right up there at the top means that you're in this infinite world. You can search for anything on Chrome and find out all about it, get lost in Wikipedia whenever you want. Next, let's look at the kinds of relationships that Chrome makes easy. Chrome isn't really strong on relationships. It doesn't put you in a lot of relationships. But one thing you can notice is that it's got favicons, and that Chrome sometimes shows you notifications because people include a number of new notifications in the titles of their web pages. So if you look here, you'll see Google and Facebook and WordPress all have special icons, and that puts you in a kind of a publisher-consumer kind of relationship. Finally, let's look at thinking styles. Because you can search anytime, anywhere, you feel like you're in this infinite world. On the other hand, because of the tabs, you're sort of accumulating to-dos. You feel like you've got a million tabs open and there's something that you have to do in each one of them and you're not sure what it is and it's hard to even see. It's kind of disorganized. Let's take each of these activities, each of these relationships, and each of these thinking styles and consider whether they help me during my ideal workday. I don't want to get back to frequent sites. I don't want to switch contexts. I don't want to search effortlessly. The first thing that I want to do, the most important thing, is work creatively and focused for a long time. So let's start a new version of Chrome where there's one tab and it's got a checkbox on it, and it's the one task that's important to me. In this case, work on my novel. Now, another thing that's important to me is that I want to take breaks. So let's imagine that if you click that checkbox, the tab slides down and we get to see a kind of an agenda for my web browsing so that I'm encouraged to take a quick break whenever I want. This version of Chrome could even suggest activities for my quick break. It could suggest yoga or a walk in a nearby park. And if I search for something, maybe I don't want it to show up immediately. I don't want to browse search results as soon as I search. Maybe I can pocket that search and it becomes part of my agenda and I can attend to it later. Finally, it's important to me to prioritize these different projects and these different tasks. So we can add drag handles to the agenda so that I can set up my web browsing however I want. Let's turn to relationships. I don't really want to consume. That's not part of my ideal work week. Consuming content is not what it's about. But something that I would like as I work on my novel or any other creative task is a sense that I have companions or mentors, people that can advise me as I go. So let's add, right up on the title bar, the faces of people that can help me with whatever my current task is. Maybe this opens a Google chat, but if it does, my friend is informed that I'm asking them for help about this project that I'm currently working in. So they don't think that I'm just trying to chat with them. They know that I'm currently working on my novel and asking them for help. The other thing that I could use while I'm browsing the web, especially when I want to take a quick break or do some kind of activity I don't quite understand, is advice. So you can imagine right there on the agenda screen, if there were little green and red dots, they could tell me that yoga or a walk in a nearby park make for a great quick break, and Facebook maybe not. And if I hover, maybe I can get a lot of additional data from other people, from strangers and friends, about how Facebook wasn't necessarily a good quick break for them, and how a walk through the park always feels good. Finally, let's turn to thinking styles. When I'm working on creative projects, I need to sit with problems. I don't want to feel like there's an infinite world to search, and I don't want to feel like there's lots to do. So let's add a timer right up at the top next to the tab, and also on the agenda page next to each item. And that timer can encourage me to spend whatever time I want with my task. before turning to other things. That's the redesign. And I hope you'll agree with me that this redesign, this version of Chrome, is more compatible with my ideal work schedule than the current version of Chrome. All right, now that we've learned to do these designs, let's go over to the town hall and see what we could do with 1,000 motivated designers to change the industry. We're going to need two things, and over the course of these 5 talks, I'm going to talk about both of them. We're going to need a design movement, a group of designers working together, and we're also going to need certain changes to the ecosystem. I'll talk about them both briefly right now, but we'll spend more time on the design movement. Okay, so it helps to remember that design has changed a lot in the last 40 years. A handful of handsome, gray-haired white men, that's Tufte, Don Norman, and Terry Winograd up at the top. They gave us some rules, and we learned how to apply them to clean up our designs. In particular, we learned that screens need to make sense to the users. And we learned how to do that. We learned about white space, conceptual hierarchy, that kind of thing. But these guys made rules for a time when computers were tools that we turned to occasionally. Now, computers mediate every aspect of our life. They're our constant companions. We need new rules. This screen is beautifully clear. It makes perfect sense, but there's still something terribly wrong with it. So here's our first new rule. Screens need to make room for what really matters to us, and we'll need to learn some new things to apply this rule. We'll need to learn about different people's ideal lives, how they really want to live, so that we can put their values on the screen instead of ours. Sure, we already know what's valuable for Lisa on her lock screen, but we'll need to redesign every screen for every kind of relationship, every kind of thinking style, every kind of ideal life. It's a big task. So let's talk about how we can build a design movement to make those things happen. Right now on my mailing list, there's 300 designers. Let's bring it to 1,000 in the next few weeks. Together, we can build a gallery with optimistic redesigns of Gmail, Facebook, notifications, every major screen. We can make sure that every designer at Google, Facebook, Apple, and the other major tech companies knows about this movement by poster bombing with provocative posters all over their campuses. We can run workshops at every design school, working with professors and students to make sure that when Google and Apple start hiring to make phones that use empowering design, they have somewhere to turn to. And eventually we can make a video of what a better OS would look like, an OS that supports us in living the lives we really want to live. And while designers are leading this movement, we can support them in many ways. We'll build new analytics so we'll know whether our screens are doing well at this or not. We'll get special features in the app stores and new labels that can go on apps and websites so that people can recognize when an app or a website is time well spent. We'll release embarrassing data about major web properties like Facebook and YouTube. We'll hold those companies to the flame. And we'll use that data to organize consumer pressure to support designers in making better screens. If you want to join this movement, you can go to empoweringdesign.org. I hope this has been time well spent for you. I look forward to working together. The next talk will be called Is Anything Worth Maximizing? And it's about analytics. Tune in. And before I go, I'd like to thank Stripe for supporting this research, Brett Victor and the other people in his lab, Tristan Harris over at Google, and many other people that helped me clarify these ideas. Thanks, and see you soon.